All right, I've been wanting to do this one for a while. This is the desk hook, and I love this part. I've 3D printed it. It's at my office. But um, so 250203 from Toby, and let's jump in. So this one's got a really complex sketch geometry, and we are going to need to work on this sketch. So I actually kind of like creating this one with 3 circles first. So 1, 2, 3. Um, and I'm going to grab this dimension here. The 117 is the distance over to the far circle. All right, that's going to rescale everything. Shift to slide. I'm going to switch this to a radius. That's going to be 12. The height of the one over here is 26. By the way, this height really kind of helps drive exactly how much of that clamp you can get in here. So if we wanted to make a larger desk hook, this 26 would be the one that would we could update, and that would make it a wider throw. Okay, and then this one I want a radius. We'll make that 18. Okay, so there's a lot of tangents in here. We're going to have to kind of play around with this some. So let's see here. We're going to start coming out. Okay, we're also going to have a line that goes up. I'm going to add some lines that are going to be tangent. And this is a pretty complicated sketch, so as we add more stuff, it really wants to make a lot of these constraints. So it gets kind of, there's a lot going on. All right. Holy cow, that's a lot. So we're going to do a couple of center end arcs. So we're going to add this one over here. And then we're going to add one. It's going to come out here. So I might just want to, as I'm trying to place this, I didn't want that one. Let's hit escape. Let's try this again. As I'm trying to place this one, I might want to hold down shift. Notice how much cleaner it gets. As I'm trying to place it, it really wants all those constraints. So I'm going to just hold down shift so I can click and click. Okay. We also have some 3-point tangent arcs. So I can go from here to here. Oh, undo. Holy cow. Okay, let's get some of this cleaned up before we move on. All right. I do want these 2 lines to be tangent. So, and I want these 2 lines to be tangent. I actually want these lines down here to be tangent as well, but I don't know if they would right away. So we'll make them stick together, and then we'll highlight them and make them tangent. All right, this one over here is going to have a radius of 27. This one is a radius of 57. The location of that point, well, let's see here. Let's make these 2 lines parallel. Okay, and then let's also make these 2 lines parallel. And I'll go ahead and make, add the 25-degree in here. So many different ways to go through this. It can be really sort of challenging to put it all together. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is use a 3-point tangent and arc. So I'm going to come out tangent here and come over to this line for the top. And then I'm going to come out tangent here. And I don't really want any of these, so I'll hold down shift. Okay, and then I'm going to come out tangent here and hold down shift. And I know this is really awkward looking still, but I promise you, we'll get there. All right, let's make this line vertical. Let's make that line vertical. Okay, don't need to do that. Let's make a couple more of these lines tangent. You want to be careful not to get those dimensions when you do that. Otherwise, it's not going to just pick the geometry. It'll give you more. So we want to kind of be careful what we're picking on there. All right. All right, so I've got the 117. I need to add, this one's going to be 22. This one's going to be 20. This one's going to be 32. Let's see if that'll do it. Yep. All right, so we're missing 2 dimensions. We're missing locations of a couple of the center arcs. So this one is going to be 58 from our reference. And this one is going to be 42 from our reference. And that gets rid of all the dimensions. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. So we'll extrude that sketch. I'm only going to extrude this for a depth of 10. So the depth is 20, but I'm going to extrude half of it and then mirror it. There's a couple of Creo tools I want to demonstrate. One of them is the shell tool. And with the shell tool, I'm going to open up this front face. I'm going to give everything a wall thickness of 5. That's what we see here. But the center of this has a back wall thickness of 3 or 6 in the middle. So I can use the non-default thickness option and set that to a value of 3. Okay. The next tool I'm going to use is the round tool, which sometimes it can be frustrating that it allows you to make all these different sets, but here we can really take advantage of it. We're going to make a radius of 10. We'll make another set and we'll pick one of these edges, and that'll be 4, and that'll just follow that tangent loop all the way around. It's really important to get the 10 in before the 4, otherwise it's not going to round at the bottom. And then the last set we'll grab over here, and we'll make those 2 edges too. So the round tool in Onshape with all of those sets that can be obnoxious because it doesn't always put multiples based on the same value, right? I'm going to hold down Control to make sure both of those are driven by the 2. Here it really shows the power where you can have multiple edges, multiple rounds added to a single feature. All right, and then we're going to take the entire part and mirror that over the front plane. All right, and we've got a nice looking part. Let's hide those tangents. Okay, and let's check our mass. Okay, so it says plus or minus 0.2 grams. This is only rounding to 1 gram. So let's edit definition on our mass properties. And we can see here that the mass is 651.6. And there we go. So that is a really challenging sketch to get right. There's a lot going on there. I do love it for attention to detail and just kind of working through because it does work. I also like it for the non-default thickness on the shell and putting 3 different rounds into one feature. I was really curious where the size, like what was this being developed for? Like what size wood would I expect to put this on? So I did want to show that really quick. And essentially what I did is I came in and I added a slanted rectangle. I gave it a length of 100. Okay. And then I set the tangent between the plane, the bottom and the bottom surface, and then the top and the top little hook, and I kind of pulled on it, okay, to see how is this connecting, right? And kind of this is about as big as you can go, right? And if I put a dimension on there, that's 26.9, a little more than 1 inch, okay? I'm going to right click and make that I just want that as a reference dimension. I still want to be able to play with this, but I would just want to see what it modifies to. If you put it on a very small surface, right, you just kind of make essentially the whole thing would tilt more like this. So the hook would be down a little bit, where if you have the bigger part, which would be, flat like this, then your hook is going to tilt up more. Anyway, I thought the part's great. I 3D printed it without any issues. I had no supports, and even this big area here printed great. Feels very sturdy to me. Big fan of this drawing and this part. Thanks.